Hello, a very warm welcome to Talking Couch, a flagship podcast channel of the Psycholingo. I'm your host, psychologist Anam Ahmed, live from Hamburg, Germany, excited, happy, and filled with gratitude. So, this is our second episode where we are traveling back in history from ADs to BCs till present, trying to figure out how this concept of mind emerged. You imagine studying, making claims about entities like mind, soul, and unconscious back in those times, claiming to have studied them, observed them without any advanced lab tools or statistical data. It was indeed a very huge claim. Let's delve deeper into the hows and whys of our minds, trying to understand how exactly, where in history did we start speculating about it and started linking them to our behavior actually, that something is coming from inside out. Explore philosophies of various personalities who took the pledge to study our mind and soul. Now, what are we waiting for? Let's begin and stay tuned. To avoid the episode getting too long, very heavy for you, I decided to divide it into two parts. The first one is this, where we talk about the developments from the ancient Greek philosophers, and we end the episode just before the modern era begins, where the birth of psychology actually took place. Beginning to discuss without the mentioning the first voice, that is from Hippocrates, the father of modern clinical medicine. In times between 460 to 370 BC, he devoted himself to spreading the word of awareness that diseases be whatsoever, from mild fever to bigger diseases, were caused by underlying physiological reasons and not evil spirits, by God's punishment, superstition, black magic, bad spells from someone, or simply this person is a big bad omen, he or she has a bad luck. Many philosophers were joining him in the later on in his revolutionary idea, and he was coming from a medical background where his father was also practicing medicine, and they came together in a team. He had two sons who later on took his legacy ahead. He had a son-in-law who also was trained by him, and they were all on this revolution to spread a word of awareness that please have a rationalist approach towards a person who's already ill. The person doesn't have the energy to fight back and say what he needs, what are his rights right now. And in spite of dealing with the situation more holistically, more medically, more rationally, you are isolating the person, you are cursing him, putting bad names and tagging the person for bad luck. He's a witch, he has an evil spirit in the body. It was not at all a humane treatment. That was the first voice recorded in history coming from Greek ancient philosopher Hippocrates. He was a very big philosopher. Maybe I might just put in more episodes in times to come to discuss about his thoughts and ideologies, and also about various other philosophers. Taking the story ahead, still we call the time between 500 to 1500 AD as the Dark Ages. Not a good idea, not a good era for someone with ailments in those times, because the cause of abnormal behavior was the devil inside. The mentally ill are persecuted or they are killed because they are considered as witches. They are considered as evil. They are considered untouchables, bad for the society. Religion became the dominant force. Of course, people were looking at religion, religious leaders back in those times, that they might have a solution, a word of healing on their wounds. So they were highly relying, because that came as a powerful force in those times. Life was a struggle between the forces of good and evil. There are actually many paintings, two of them being my favorite, and they are worth mentioning here. and they are being preserved, and they are an artwork of a great artist called Hieronymus Bosch. The one painting which is worth mentioning of his here is Extraction of the Stone of Madness, which he completed in 1494. It depicts a scene. Now you imagine, I hold your attention here, that it depicts a scene where a lady is hammering the skull of a patient. I mean, it is supposedly the patient, the person who needs help, to make a hole deep inside the skull of the person to release the evil energy which might have captivated the body of the person, or to let the harmful brain fluids flow out of the skull in order to treat the person. I repeat the name of the painting. It's called Extraction of the Stone of Madness by Hieronymus Bosch. Please go to Google, have a look at this painting. I assure you that there are no stains of blood on the painting, but you see the whole scenario, see the minds of the people, how they were working against these concepts. They were so painted in negative colors, painted in negative light, and these are the paintings which come up as a proof, which tells us the mindset of the people. And the second painting of this person is called Ship of Fools. So this painting came up in 1490 to 1500 AD, during that time. And now it has been preserved in a very famous museum in Paris. So you can go and have a look at this painting even. Today it is preserved. So this painting depicts a big ship, and you have different kinds of people on this ship. So again, there is a powerful message behind this painting that people with a disability have to be isolated. They need to, come together in this ship. Maybe you can transport this ship to somewhere else away from the society. They need to be isolated. They need to be kept distant from the society, considering them as a huge threat to the discipline, to the normal norms of the society, or they are considered as a bad example to others. Often, there are reports that these people were humiliated. It is reflected well in these paintings. I mean, on one side, these are the people who need more love, more care, treatment, holistic approach, scientific approach, encouragement, support. And on the very contrary, what they deserve, what they give, and what they, put these people on is humiliation, tagging, bad words, discrimination, cut off from the society. And it is like a crime, for someone to be declared as ill. More significant written records come from the years after the 1200s, when in 1247, this is the biggest, milestone we can, account for in the history, when the Bethlehem Hospital, one of the early specialized institutions for psychiatric care, came up in London. Of course, on the outside of the city walls, because these people cannot be treated in the middle of the city. The hope we have is now that the psychiatric patients will get the treatment they deserve. But historical records tell us other story. Its famous history has inspired several horror books. Please attend it again. Horror books are being inspired from the stories coming out of these hospitals. Films are being made. TV series are being made in the horror section, most notably called Bedlam. It is a film which was directed and produced by Boris Karloff. You can also go and see it on YouTube if you would like. Tell us the horror stories of the patients who were being treated there, or being kept there, or being confined there. Patients there received no care actually. This is a hospital, but there is no care. Nothing was done for them other than confine them, restrict them, cage them under horrible conditions and circumstances where these Patients are chained. They are locked up in rooms, dark rooms, smelly rooms where there is no sanitation, no hygienic conditions. Their necks are having iron rods so that, it becomes heavy and you're not able to move. But the person is so distressed, he's moving in pain. They are shouting and they are just caged in this building. So you are not confined into a small area, but then you are sometimes let loose in the whole institution to shout, to run for your help, and they are not being attended by any person there. Many report that patients who were kept in these institutions were considered as a source of amusement, and tickets were being sold to watch them. Can you imagine that? So you are being displayed as a joke to the rest of the world. There are people who are visiting you and considering you as a joker. Maybe you are crying, you are dying in pain, you need help. And there are people on the other end, they are coming to visit you, to laugh at you, to make a picture about you, And I mean, this leaves me with goosebumps here. Like, though they came up with the idea of a separate institution for psychiatric needs with specialized doctors and nurses, but it was still a very long way for a truly humanitarian treatment to come on the ground. Only if you have time, please Google the pictures from these hospitals, Bethlehem Hospital, London, and you can just judge it for yourself how serious the situation and the condition was back in those times. There is an illness, a disorder that might have developed, that might have touched your life, and it is because of a complex interplay of biology of the person. Maybe it's a family history, something in the genes. There is neurochemistry. I mean, we have proven it today with the development in the scientific world, thanks to that. I mean, his or her environment could be a cause. There is a stressor you're not able to combat. There are skills you lack. Maybe everything came together and you have a disability now. You have a disorder state now. Imagine you are being treated like that. You need more help. You need a treatment. You need a doctor who's specialized in that area. And all you get is humiliation. I mean, tagging them as parasites, insane, mad, threat to the society. They do not belong to us. They are weak. They are, not even someone who deserved normal human treatment. These were the taggings these people received back in those times. This is something I will take more deeply when I talk about stigmas associated with mental disorders. But worth mentioning here that this was the holistic treatment these people were receiving. Media reported these incidents later on. They caught the eyes of people from newspaper headlines. And then comes the age of Enlightenment. A little hope was lit, of course. Now come in the scene heroes like Philippe Pinel from France in 1745 to 1826. Then come William Tuke, Benjamin Rush in 1745 to 1813 in USA. And they made central prepositions like mental illnesses could be a result of emotional stress. We will try and prove it. And it could be because of psychological strains. And these people are not to be treated the way they are being treated. Okay, the first assumption, the first rule which was, brought out by them was that more humane treatment of the patient is to be done. Please remove the chains. They are not to be chained. They are not to be caged. After removing the chains, how will you treat them? You will treat them first with morality. You will treat them with openness. Please provide them better living conditions and treat them as normal individuals who have certain condition which needs scientific approach. Okay, things are going fine. So there was a philosophical shift. Mentally ill, rather than being seen as a problem people who needed to be persecuted or punished or killed or put on torture, were now viewed as people with problems who needed help. We need a scientific look and approach to deal with such people. There could be a complex interplay coming together for this person. So that is the result where the person has got this disability. not a witch, not an evil spirit, not a threat to the society. Still, you would say that the good news has already arrived, but no, the treatment plan of these doctors were inhumane. Shock therapies were given to the patients where they were being, electrodes were being attached to the brains. They were given the shock therapy so that the neurons are moving in the body, moving in the brain, and you have a new individual coming out of that shock therapy. We have reports of skull incisions where skulls are being broken open, hammering the skull, or we have a separate procedure called lobotomy anatomy, where there is a long needle which was put from the nostrils, like the nose opening, to the brain. Going through your eye sockets to the brain, to the frontal lobe, and trying to pick it, because that was considered that when we prick it, it will start releasing good emotions, and whatever is going wrong in your frontal lobe, you have distorted thinking, emotions, and decision making and perception. So that might get activated by pricking it from outside. Lobotomy anatomy has also left me amazed. These were the treatment plan of these people back in those times. But happiest news came to the mental illness industry. It came with a wait, but it did came when the modern era began, which was the birth of great personalities like Sigmund Freud, worth mentioning, father of modern psychology. 1857 to 1939, he blessed us with so many theories and case studies and different school of thought called psychoanalysis. Of course, expect me talking about him greatly in the second episode of this series, History. Ivan Pavlov came forward, Edward Thorndike, John B. Watson. They brought about learning theories, conditioning. They were talking about cognitive psychology. There is thinking brain. There is a feeling brain. There are psychological forces underneath which are influencing the chemistry of the body, and it is having an impact on the environment we live in. So these theories came forward. From here, psychology as a discipline saw birth. 17th, 18th century, things started changing up. In the 19th century, completely changed. So psychology as a discipline saw birth. As a revolutionary strong voice against these practices, many enlightened people came together. They talked about this situation, how things are happening. We have certain patients who do not have any reason for these physical symptoms. Stomach upset, you have headaches. We are testing you or treating you for migraines, but it's not going. We have cases of paralysis. We have cases of severe catatonia, epilepsy. No physical underlying causes. What is up with these people? So a lot of people came together. They started discussing a different route that they should take in the form of talk therapy. Such a simple thing, yet solve complex problems of the society. You will see how that happened. How did it unfold in the second episode. Important takeaways from this episode is that, please, mental disorder, having it is not something to be ashamed of, not something to treat the person with untouchability. It is just a complex interplay of biological, environmental, and psychological factors. They are real and they do exist actually in every second individual today, with anxiety disorders rising alarmingly. Also, perception towards normal and abnormal should change. Topics are discussed separately in detail in further episodes. Definitely, I will take it as my personal challenge to spread the word. Because I will not stop here. I will spread and I will educate, because this has become my personal goal to, spread a word of awareness. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Tuning in and holding your attention till the end. Please, please, please remember to take care of yourself and each other around. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share this powerful message with your dear ones around. Follow us on our social media for new updates. Check out our website for booking up a therapy session with me, or for buying a great course on psychology today. Inform yourself, be enlightened. Until next time, this is your psychologist Anam Ahmed signing off for now. Ciao, auf Wiedersehen.